Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's 2019. Can you even believe it? That means, as you can tell from our last video, we have a bunch of movies that we're anticipating for 2019. But what about 2018? How did that stack up? For me personally, I really quite enjoyed a large number of the films that were released this year, shockingly, because I've had I've had some bad luck with some Netflix horror films this year, but thankfully there's a lot of other stuff that actually is pretty decent. Oh, by the way, what do you think of my shirt? I think it's quite funny. So I really enjoyed quite a few of the films from this year, and by the way, I'll just put a disclaimer of this right at the top. I always forget movies. Always. It's just something that I do. Shit, not even movies in general. I'm just forgetful. I just forget things. So chances are there's going to be some horror movie that I'm going to be like, oh my god, I forgot that came out this year. So please comment below if there's something that you really enjoyed that didn't end up being on my list, because chances are I just forgot about it because, again, that's the kind of person that I am. So this is going to be a little different in that it's going to be 4 horror films that I enjoyed this year. It's not going to be, I'm not doing a list, blah, blah, blah. I just want to discuss the movies that I enjoyed. So yeah, let's get into it. So this first film is really this is a big reason why I'm very pleased with my Shudder subscription, because I wouldn't have watched this movie without that, and that's Revenge. This is a movie that I did in my 31 days of Halloween, so actually quite a few of these films kind of tread the same category. Tread the same water. Tread the same category? That's not even... Oh god, it's too fucking early in the morning. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I like the tone that it sets right from the jump. I love the scenery. Like, I need this movie on Blu-ray or 4K if we're even blessed with that kind of a release, just because the lush desert landscapes combined with the modern architecture from the house and that big expensive house, it's just really cool. One thing I didn't notice while I was watching the film but found out after the fact is that the girl doesn't have any dialogue from like a certain point on in the film, and I just really enjoyed that. There's a lot of just really cool moments in the film, and if there's one thing that 2018 has taught me, it's that I love a good revenge movie, and this one really just hit the nail on the head. So yeah, I loved it. Next up, we have one that I thought for sure this would be my favorite horror movie of the year, and wouldn't you know, this year just ended up being fucking right in line with my taste. So it's not quite the best, but it's still up there. That's A Quiet Place. I really love this movie. I like any movie that has a gimmick that actually can pull it off. It's a big reason I enjoyed Unfriended. And A Quiet Place is just... It's expert filmmaking. They do a really good job. They're able to, I mean John Krasinski is just able to create a film that I wasn't expecting to be as good as it was. I know that when I saw it in theaters on Friday the 13th, actually, I went on a date, and there was a bunch of fucking high school kids in the theater. I was immediately like, oh no, this is gonna be an awful experience. Because, I mean, the film is essentially a silent film. There's 25 lines of dialogue, mostly done through subtitles. It's very, very minimal. So I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. The entire theater was completely dead quiet the whole time. That's because this film is just so riveting. Not many films are able to pull that off, especially this is a Friday night teenage crowd. Oh, essentially one of the worst kinds of crowds to see a horror film with. They were so respectful and awesome, and maybe not everyone had that experience, but I attributed that to this film just hitting all the marks. I'm a little worried about the sequel just because, I don't know. I'm hoping that it's just a story of other people set in that world, and if Emily Blunt's character pops up, I would rather it just be like a bit part. I don't want her to be the focus, because then I think it kind of just takes away from the first film. But either way, I love it. I loved A Quiet Place, and if you haven't seen it, please check it out. Next up is one that... This movie is fucking incredible. And again, I'm not going to talk spoilers for this film. I've already done like a non-spoiler review of this for 31 Days of Halloween, But even with that, I can't do it. Because if you haven't seen this movie, I feel like just on the off chance that you're like making it through this and then are doing something, then just happen to hear a spoiler, because I just wouldn't want to accidentally spoil this for somebody that just wasn't quite paying attention and didn't realize that this was on the list. So again, I'm not going to spoil this movie because it's so incredible. The best thing with the timing of this is that they Amazon Prime, the US Amazon Prime, just put this film on Amazon Prime. I was gonna say on their Netflix, but that's not exactly right. Fucking Netflix is essentially like a Google word where you can just like insert it. I'm just an idiot. That's all there is to it. But yeah, I absolutely loved Hereditary, and please check this out, because at some point, once this movie will have been out for a year, that's when I'll finally revisit and do a spoiler video, because I want to talk about these things, but I also don't want to. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's really all. Next up, we have, without a doubt, this is my favorite horror film of the year and just my favorite film of the year. I love this movie. So yeah, you guys already should know what this is. I think I've referenced it in other videos. Halloween. Oh. And this has been one of those movies that I really have enjoyed seeing the different reactions to it, because it doesn't seem to be like people seem to be really enjoying it, but then if you're not a Halloween fan, it seems to just be getting dismissed as just a whatever slasher, which is fine, absolutely fine. For me personally though, I love slasher films, and when one is done expertly, that's all I need. So there's been some people that aren't into like the humor in it or some of the teenage characters, but I absolutely love them. They are all very dimensional. It makes their interactions with Michael even more terrifying. Like I pre-ordered this movie, that awesome Steelbook through Best Buy. So I'm just like anticipating them sending me the digital code, because that's usually what Best Buy does. They'll like send you a digital code beforehand. And I'm just anticipating getting that, because I want to watch this movie again. I haven't seen it since seeing it in theaters. That might actually be a bad thing, in that I could see it a second time and be like, oh yeah, it's good, but I don't think that's going to be the case, but again, having only seen it the one time, it's like, who knows? It could have just been me just so pumped for the film, but I can't imagine that being the case. I loved it. Oh, and by the way, I actually filmed, you can check this out. Shit, I was going to point over to it, but I'm like, I don't really know how to do that on YouTube. So I'll point down here. This is where I'll have links of any of the films that I did, because I actually I reviewed all of these except for A Quiet Place on 31 Days of Halloween. So I'll have those reviews down below. My Halloween review is actually filmed like right after I came back from the theater, so I'm real jazzed up and real super excited for it. So if you want to get even more details about why I love that film, go check that out. I just don't really want to retread myself since I've already done that video once. But yeah, that's really it. I really enjoyed the horror films that came out this year. There's some that, even though they weren't like amazing, they were still good enough to just be a standout for the year. I love Terrifier just because it introduced me to Art the Clown. The film itself has some problems. That's why I didn't fully mention it in the same company as all these other ones. But it still has some really good ideas, and that's kind of the theme of the year, is that horror is still coming back, so that's awesome. And if you watch my 2019 video, then you guys know that we got some good horror films that are coming out this year, and I can't wait. Let's hope that it's just as good as 2018. We'll see you next week. Hey, you can feel free to hit that subscribe button below and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd. I am at Zombie Victim on all of them. Thanks.